Yeah!
There we go!
I'm gonna get in trouble for that. My girlfriend is sleeping, and I probably just woke her up, and if I die in a few moments, I loved every minute of time that I had with all of you, and I'm so sorry. Let's get good. Welcome back to Fire Pro Academy. This is Edit Creation 104, and today we are going to dig into the skill category. And I am joined, as always, by my broadcast compatriot. Is that the right term?
Hey guys! Broadcast compatriot?
I think it's compatriot.
Whatever, anyway.
Gott's with us today, guys. Okay.
Yay.
So we're gonna jump right into the skills. This is a complex thing, and I will include some links in the description. I've also got some more feedback on some of the other things that the attack styles and stuff can interact with. That being said, there's actually not a ton known about the defense styles right now. So we'll get into that as we dive through, but I will be providing resources for all the information that I'm giving you down in the description so you can go investigate yourself. Alright, so jumping in here, wrestler rank, and I should have looked more in detail at this, but I'm reasonably sure that wrestler rank affects how loudly the crowd cheers. So basically it ranges from S to E, and however high it is how much louder they cheer or boo. They do boo that loud depending on a couple of things. And actually that is tied to the heal and return skill fight style, and return skill for heals in the base game. However, if you happen to be using the mod pack, there's a thing called the heal database that you can add people to, and it'll ensure that when they taunt, they get booed instead of cheered, and that allows you to free up their fight style and return skills so that you can do something other than heal there. So we're going to leave Phoenix's on C because if he were to come into GFW, nobody really knows who he is yet. He would be a new face on the scene. That being said, he was an older EFED character, so we could theoretically go higher, but I'm going to leave it at C because people don't know who he is. So Charisma...
It's the exact same thing, isn't it?
It actually isn't, and that's why I wanted to look at something. Give me 1 second, guys. I'm actually going to pull something up and take a look at that, because it actually isn't the exact same thing. They do slightly different things, and of course, the game doesn't do a good job of telling us that. There we go. So, wrestler rank and charisma, both of which can be set from E to S. These only change crowd reactions. Rank modifies the frequency of reactions. That's what it is. That's what I was looking for. So wrestler rank modifies how frequently the crowd will react to the actions of that wrestler. So it is better thought of, in my opinion, as a showmanship type of thing. Like, if they've got a higher rank in that, it means that they can make a punch look good. And if you're not sure what I'm talking about, here's what I want you to think about. Think about the way that Triple H stomps somebody on the ground, and then think about the way that The Rock stomps somebody on the ground. Very, very different things. The Rock had a very stylized foot stomp. Actually, The Rock is a great example for this because The Rock stylized everything he did in the ring, pretty much.
Oh, yeah.
And that would give him a higher rating on this because people would pop more for more stylized moves, which is realistic. Charisma affects how loudly they pop. So there you go. That's the difference there, even though the game does a really poor job of explaining that to us, which is more than likely just a translation error, so like it's really not as much on Spike Chunsoft's side as it is just translation errors kind of happen. Okay, so when we get to fight style, this is where things get a lot more complex, and I am going to leave this screen up, but I'm going to switch over to a sheet that I made, and I will make this available to you guys as well. So what we can... Actually, you know what? I'll pull the sheet up. You guys probably want to see this anyway, and it will help with that. It's not a browser source, it would be a display capture? Yeah. There we go. That'll work. Okay. So, this is a spreadsheet that I made when I was making wrestlers for Season 1, and I will make this available to you guys so that you can use it as well. If we come down here and we change our fight style, you're going to notice some things that change immediately. All of these compatibility ratings change, the critical chance over here changes, the run parameter here changes, and the air distance crash damage changes, as well as this damage curve. So what you can tell from that is that fight styles actually affect a lot of stuff, which makes them very, very important. And I can tell you from personal experience that if you do not like pay attention to your fight styles, an edit that could be great can just flounder. Like for example, X in Season 1 did really, really terribly until I swapped his fight style to Vicious, which is one of the more, I don't want to say esoteric, but it's more MMA based. And it's something that you have to be careful with because it can be kind of overpowered. In his case, because of the way his moveset is built, it didn't overpower him, it just made it so that he wouldn't like gas out or be under aggressive. So basically here we have a ton of different styles. Orthodox is the base one that a lot of like wrestlers fall under. They have pretty good compatibilities for agility, technical, MMA overall, and entertainment. Good running. That's, I believe the run parameter is how much damage they do with their running moves, and 100 air distance and crash damage, so they take the normal amount of crash damage, they have the normal amount of leaping distance. The damage curve right here is really important. This is how their spirit goes at different damage levels, so at small damage, they've got an A in spirit, at medium, a B, at large, a C, and near death, which is the same as critical, a B. Now let's compare that to something like the heal. You'll notice here that when the heel gets near death, they have a D. That's because heels don't make comebacks. So the styles do incorporate things like match psychology in regards to whether or not somebody will make a comeback or not. You can also see that this may not be the heel you're thinking of, since the only thing they have a high compatibility in is rough and entertainment, and everything else has a low compatibility. This is not your Triple H heel. This is your Abdullah the Butcher heel. This is your gimmicky, like, I can't wrestle, but I can stab you in the face with a fork heel.
Shots fired to Abby.
That's not a shot at Abdullah the Butcher. Like, back then, that's what being a heel was. Like,
yeah, no, I know.
Part of being a heel back in the territory days was that you weren't a great wrestler. Like, people weren't there to see you show off your technical prowess because you didn't really have it. As you can see, the heel also has terrible air distance and crash damage. I've got this color-coded so you can kind of just at a glance see what's good and what's bad for that particular fight style. So I'm just going to go through them real quick and we can kind of look at the strengths and weaknesses. As you can see, a lot of strengths down here in agility, technical, MMA, and entertainment for the Orthodox guys, and no real weaknesses except for rough style, which is an important thing. So if you're building a face, this is not a bad one to go with as an all-arounder. Great everything. Everything on this is pretty balanced. The critical chance up here is how likely they are to, I believe, take a critical from these different styles. And there is a calculator that I was given by, God, I can't remember the name from Reddit. I think it's Defukun. If I got that wrong, I'm sorry, but thank you for the resource and the information that we've been sharing back and forth. So if we look at something like Technician, you can see that's very different. They have a B in Throw, a B in Technical, a B in Entertain, and then their average everywhere else. Still good running, still good damage curve. You can see that they have a slightly lower chance of taking a critical from finishers, whereas they have a higher chance of taking a critical from technicals. That might actually be the chance to deal out a critical. Let me double check that real quick, guys, because I don't want to be giving you bad information here. Where is the style primer? Attack styles. Here we go. So, critical is... That's their chance to hit those criticals, I think. My bad. So that's what it is. It's not their chance to defend it. It's the ones they hit the best. And you'll also see there's some stuff here that's listed on the King Mo or Lord Mo blog that is more informative than what I've got. Like, I didn't track the hammer throw stop rate or the Irish whip stop rate, but those are important too. So you'll notice for like Orthodox, there's a 15% chance that they'll stop a hammer throw, which is a whip into the, out of the ring, and then the Irish whip rope stop, or rather the hammer throw is the actual Irish whip, my bad, and the Irish whip rope stop is how often they'll catch themselves on the ropes. And that's pretty standard for most people. Like it ranges for most styles between 15% or less to 30% on the rope stop. I think the place where you really see a big difference in that, so you can see wrestling here, we've got about a 60%, but I think the one that has the really high one is the luchador style. Oh, I'm absolutely incorrect. The luchador style has zeros as well as the junior. So luchadors and juniors basically won't stop at the ropes. That's actually a useful thing to know. So I definitely recommend checking out this sheet. It's a lot to go into in this video, so I'm going to kind of go back to what we were doing where we were covering it in a general sense. But like I said, I will provide this resource so that you can go through yourselves and look at stuff in detail for what you want. It's important...
But if we were to...
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry.
No, go
Yes,
ahead.
I was going to say, if we were to give a small example, if you set the attack style to junior and the defense style to all-rounder, which is what Marcus Moonchild is, we could get a base example of what Marcus would naturally do in ring.
Exactly. Defense style or return skill is actually one of the harder ones to peg down. There's not a lot of information about how that works. In most cases, it makes sense to match the return skill to the fight style because they have some sort of interaction. But with like all-arounder, you can kind of assign that to anyone. I think it also gels really well with Orthodox. No, Orthodox has its own. So I think all-arounder can kind of gel with anyone. But otherwise, it kind of pays to match them up. One thing I do a lot, though, and I'll just admit to this outright, is I use American on my heels a lot, and that's because American... Well, I'll show you what American is. Because it's basically hardcore wrestling or dirty wrestling. American is orthodox with good rough. That's what American is. So I'll use that as my return style a lot because the moves that it gives you, that's what return skill does for the most part, is it controls which moves you actually are able to select in counter slots. And American has a lot of like back low blows, a lot of dirty stuff like that, so I'll use that a lot. All-rounder, I think, just has the best variety of those moves. And there's one that I do want to take a second to talk about because it's kind of a big deal. Giant is a really, really interesting return skill. In fact, Giant is such a strong return skill, like as far as it hard countering things and no-selling running moves and just things like that. Like it actually makes you like a Giant. You will no-sell running attacks and stuff like that early on. And I want to show you how good it is. This is the Giant attack style. You'll notice that it has terrible recovery in large and near death. It has terrible running. It has terrible high flying and crash damage. It has terrible things. The only thing it's got high compatibility for are punches and rough style. And the reason for that is because the Giant defense style is redonkulously good as far as like absorbing blows and actually staying in a match. So you have to be careful with that, because if you were to, for example, pair up the Giant defense style with, say, Orthodox, well, now you've got somebody that may end up being a little bit strong, so you definitely want to tune around that. And I'll let y'all in on a little bit of a secret. Nero Sin, who is, or was, the big monster of our roster in Season 1, was Power Giant. And that's one of the things that made him so interesting, is he would no-sell Irish Whip attacks and stuff sometimes. But at the same time, Power Giant I don't think is terrible, you just have to balance around it, and I did. I basically made sure to spread his parameters enough that he wasn't like stupidly dominant, because that could have been a thing. Okay, so let's just keep rolling down. Technician we looked at. Let's take a look at wrestling real quick, because there is a important distinction here. So you'll notice that with wrestling, we have A compatibility in MMA overall and an A compatibility in throw. Kicks are bad, everything else is kind of decent. Recovery rates aren't great. Air distance and crash damage is not great. Running isn't great. So basically, this is not what you think. This is not pro wrestling. This is, I'm gonna put you on the mat and wrestle you wrestling. This is, I'm gonna climb to mount and pound your face in wrestling.
Yeah. So this is like Greco-Roman wrestling.
Yeah,
traditional
exactly.
Olympic style wrestling.
Yeah, exactly. It's more that style. So keep that in mind when you're building edits. There's a few more in here that you have to be careful about because they actually highly affect things like the Irish Whip rate. Like, I believe it's fighters and grapplers, but I'm not sure. In fact, we can look over here for that. Fighter, where you at? Shooter is a good one. Fighter's a good one. Okay, so you'll notice with Fighter here, hammer throw stop is 50%, Irish Whip rope stop is 100%. Same thing with Shooter, 100% Irish Whip rope stop. So that means you just cannot Irish Whip them. That means that's because they're more MMA edits, and for them, like, Irish Whipping is basically something that has to be sold, because you can't really Irish whip someone. You can't force someone to run. Like, they can stop themselves at any time. So those styles don't work very cooperatively with other styles. It can make for an interesting mix in a match, though, to put them in with like a professional wrestler. You get some real Inoki style matches if you do that, but I'm not fond of it, and we don't use those styles very much in GFW because of the fact that they're not very cooperative. So you got a ground style here. This is interesting because it is an MMA-esque style, but you can actually make a pretty solid ground wrestler with this. I'm actually curious what the ground styles Irish whip stops and stuff are. Yeah, see, their Irish whip stops aren't as extreme. It's sort of a middle ground between a Greco-Roman wrestler and a professional wrestler, which can be kind of fun to watch. So I'm not opposed to using the ground style sometimes, but it is, once again, something you have to be very, very careful with, because power and agility factor in a lot to pro wrestling moves. Maybe not so much to MMA stuff, so you do have to build a very submission-focused edit with that. You see the damage curve here for them isn't terrible either. We can look at some more that are interesting. Mysterious is interesting. This is sort of like... I'm not even sure. Let's defer to Lord Mo's page here for a minute, because Mysterious has some very, very interesting implications, and I am not adequately memorized to say it off the top of my head. So Mysterious is based off of the Great Muta. So it is essentially good at high flying and foul play, good at running and pinning using bizarre secret techniques. Whoa! Bad at power strikes, chain wrestling, and submissions. Horrible at jokes. They don't do entertainment. No entertainment style for them.
What are you kidding me? Great Muta was entertaining as hell.
Oh, I agree. I mean, we have the Muta scale thanks to him, which is my favorite, but... Anyway, so I could go through these all day, but I'm not going to. I'm going to go ahead and pick the one that I think is going to apply for Phoenix, and I'll let you guys sort of work through those on your own when you're ready. Normally, I would give him an American style, but I think in this case, we're probably going to go with... Based on his basic moveset, I honestly feel like he's probably an Orthodox. Would you think that's about right?
Hey, you know these attack skills better than I do.
I think he's either an Orthodox or an American, because he does have some rough stuff. Let's try American. Now, one thing I do want to show you guys that's kind of useful to do is you can pick your fight style and then just come back and roll through your moveset for a minute and just look and see what your compatibilities look like. If you're seeing a good mixture of stuff, if stuff's changing, see we've got some B's, some C's, some D's. I'm not seeing a whole lot of E's in there, but we do have a lot of C's. And what compatibility does, to be clear, is it's how much breath they use up using that attack. So when Phoenix uses this power bomb, it's going to cost him a little bit more breath than it would cost somebody that had a C there, essentially. So you want to just make sure that you have a good mixture here. You want to see some A's in there, but you don't want it to be all A's, because if it's all A's, then everybody else is going to gas out before this edit, and the edit's going to kind of come off overpowered. So we do have a pretty fair mix there. I think we're okay. Yeah. I think everything is okay. We're not seeing any E's, which is kind of something that I try to focus on having at least a few of. But we have a lot of D's and C's as well, so it's kind of up to you how you want to balance that, and I think he's alright. Okay, so we'll go back into skills here. For his return skill, I would normally go with American, but I don't want that for him at this point because he's not a heel, at least in GFW. To be clear, he was a heel in other places, which is why I keep leaning towards American style. Without heel being on the table, though, I'm gonna probably go for something like either Junior or maybe just a straight up all-around. We'll go with all-around. And we could go back and take a look at our counter skills now, and you can kind of see that. The thing is, those return skills, they not only affect the counters that are available to you in here, they also affect the counters that you execute automatically that you don't get to select. Now, if you're using the mod pack, you can actually go in and edit the counters that are available to you. So that's a thing. So we still get our counter. That's not what I'm looking for. Where is the counter? There we go. So it can affect your avalanche setup counters, I believe, and I think it also just affects your back counters. Here we go. So we should potentially have some different stuff available in here than we had before. Got a rolling cross leg breaker. I don't know if we had that before. I don't know if we had this rolling pinfall. I also don't like to use that. Big thing. Try to avoid using this as a counter, and if you do, set it to a low percentage, because what'll happen is you'll win matches with it, and you'll be like, man, that is not how I wanted that to end. So I'm not really going to mess with all that. We found counters that we liked already. You could come back and do that, though. So critical ability, this is interesting, because it costs points to do anything other than finisher, and the reason for that is because you will literally KO somebody with a strike if you do striking. And that may sound like a really cool idea if you have like a striking focused edit, and it's gonna seem like a really cool idea until they start a match, throw a body kick, and KO someone, and you're gonna be like, that was not what I was going for. So my advice for that is keep it on finisher. You have a technician, maybe go with submission, but I would still be careful, because once again, any submission can crit it.
Especially if you're trying to do decent matches, for God's sake, do not go with technician, because it can possibly end a match in under a minute.
Yeah, so I would stick with finisher for the most part if you're doing pro wrestling edits. If you're doing MMA edits, these are great. Okay, so special skills. This is a really fun category, because none of these actually function like they say. So let me give you guys a great example of things that don't function like they say. Focus. If you look at the bottom of the screen right now, it says focused during the match and has a higher rate of evading a strike attack, submission, and technical moves. That's not what it actually does, though. What it actually does is... Focus, focus, focus. A lucky hit is honestly just one you didn't see coming. Rate of scoring critical hits against the user off of strike, submissions, and technical moves is cut in half for the duration of the match. That's not at all what it sounds like. So I will give you guys a link to this. This shows what the actual skills are. And I'll tell you the one that I picked for Phoenix and why. I picked hard body for him. A wrestler with hard body will be much less likely to get pinned off of anything but a big move. How much less? Nobody's sure. What constitutes a big move? Nobody's really sure, but we think it's anything in the circle level of front grapples or that damage range. So I'm going to go back and give him that. Basically, we're picking that because we want Phoenix to get beat down and then have a comeback, and hard body is going to ensure that if he does get beat down, he's not going to get pinned when somebody just hits a weak move after he's already damaged. So that'll help us sort of preserve the pacing of our matches right there. So then we get down to recovery, breathing, spirit, exchanging blows, and all these things. These all range, like in this case, from slow to fast. One thing you do want to think about is most edits are actually going to recover slower, they're going to breathe slower, they're going to have slower spirit regen when they're bleeding. That's a realistic thing. Unless they're a hardcore wrestler, it's pretty likely that it's going to be like that. Since Phoenix has more of a hardcore background, and he is a guy whose focus is to get beat down and then come back, I've given him fast recovery when he's bleeding, but you'll notice that his breathing when bleeding is lower and his spirit stays about the same. I actually might change that around a little bit. I think I might move this up to normal, so that bleeding basically doesn't affect him that much. It just makes him recover a little bit better, which is fine. Like, I don't want him to breathe better and have better spirit regen and all that when he's bleeding, because that's extreme. But having it just sort of stay the same except for recovery, which gets a little bit better, that sort of represents him coming back as a Phoenix. So I get that, and I like it. Okay. Here we get to the body part endurance section. This is very, very important. One of these should almost always be low. If they're not low, it basically means they have no physical weaknesses, which is totally unrealistic and can result in edits that are just a little bit OP. You can also set one of them high if you want. In Phoenix's case, since we've got this fast over here, I'm not going to. I'm going to leave his arm, back, and leg endurance at normal, and I'm going to lower his neck endurance to low. That's basically just meaning that attacks to the head are going to break down that body part a little bit faster. I think what it actually does is it sets the health for that body part. So low gives you a lower pool, and once the health of a body part is depleted, attacks to that body part will actually affect the spirit. And that's a way to lower spirit and get submissions and things like that. So when I set it to neck here, what it means is that people are going to have a better chance of submitting him late in the match, realistically, because a lot of attacks focus on the face, which is neck endurance. So they'll break that down pretty quickly and start to whittle away at his spirit. Thankfully, we do have a lot of like Ukemi, so that should sort of help him maintain his spirit. So I think that'll be okay. Movement speed here, if you have a big edit, just make him slow. Just do it. It doesn't make sense for a big edit to be medium fast or fast usually. I'm going to leave him at medium because he's not a huge edit, and he's a big guy that can fly, like we were talking about. So he's not slow, but he's not super fast either. Ascent style here, if you want to make somebody that is a true like high-flying luchador, you go with run. Running up is big. I'm going to give him enable, that's it. If you choose disable here, they cannot go to the top rope at all. So if you have like a big giant edit that you don't ever want to go to the top rope, you just disable right there and they won't do it. And that's actually a good way to sort of balance those larger giant edits, especially if you happen to use the giant return skill. That's a good way to balance it. A little bit. I mean, that helps, but it's not the end-all be-all if you're using the giant return skill. So up and down speed, this is the same thing. How quickly do they climb the ropes? Fast is RVD, slow is... Who's a good example of slowly climbing the ropes? I'm trying to think of like...
Braun Strowman, I don't know.
There you go. Well, I think Braun's actually pretty decent, but there are some dudes that you watch them climb the rope and like you look at your watch and you're like... Really? Really, guys? You know there's only 3 of them, right? That's what we're talking about when we look at slow. Favorite weapon. Actually, though, one thing to keep in mind is if you set this to slow, the chance of somebody getting up and preventing the high-flying move is a lot higher, so it also reduces the rate that people are going to hit high-flying moves, which is important. Favorite weapon, self-explanatory. Pick a weapon, that's yours. In Phoenix's case, because it's in the game and it's freaking awesome and it makes people bleed, we're going to go with the light tube. Theme music is exactly what it sounds like. If you're on PS4 now, you can actually have your own theme music. You can load it in on a USB. Congratulations, guys, you finally got it. If you're using the mod pack, you can actually just put an MP3 file in the appropriate place with the name of the edit, and there's an auto-refresh thing that will essentially assign that theme music to them automatically, so you don't even have to worry about this, but I could go in and click it. I'm just going to back out, though, because I don't need to. Voices. So here's something you should do that I don't do enough. Voices are big. Voices definitely help in selling the edit. They can help set the character of the edit. I'll tell you this right now, Bone Crusher is probably the only one in GFW. Does Marcus have a lot of voice lines? Did you set those up at all?
I did, but I didn't assign them to any moves because the problem is that none of the voices really fit Marcus at all.
Well, I have good news for you about that. One of the latest updates to the mod pack allows you to play with sounds, which is super, super cool. So that being said, sound is definitely a thing that you can play with here, and the idea is that they can help set the mood for an edit. So let me give you a great example. Bone Crusher has the stand-on chest pin, and when he does it, he yells "over," and that's just great. It just comes off as super, super heelish to like stomp on somebody's chest arrogantly and be like "over." So you can do cool stuff like that. Obviously, some of the voice lines are from actual wrestlers. I find those to be sort of less helpful, in my opinion, because what I really don't want is for my custom edit to yell "good night" like Kenny Omega, because he's not Kenny Omega.
There's one voice line, though, in this that I find absolutely hilarious. If you go to Bad Luck Farley and then go on Relax, oh my god, it's hilarious.
What is it? I can't hear this right now because we're recording, so you'll have to tell me. What does it say?
No, it's just him saying relax, but it's just the way he says it. It's like, it's so unlike Bad Luck Farley.
I do love the isn't his fucking line in here?
No, it's not.
Oh, come on, man. How you not gonna have that? So I'm not gonna tweak with these too much because I literally can't hear this right now while we do the recording because of the setup I have to use for Goth to be able to come through and have his own audio channel. However, I do recommend taking some time really feeling these out and then putting them on like some appropriate moves because it does really help to flesh out that edit. I just don't do it with GFW because we have a roster of like, God, it's like, what, 36 people now?
Is it that high?
I think it's getting there, man. I think it's getting there. We, like, I've got 2 or 3 more that are just waiting for creation right now. So
Christ, at this rate, they're gonna need to cap that or something.
Yeah, no, we're getting up there on roster size. That doesn't mean that new roster members aren't welcome. If you want to join, hit me up on Discord. Y'all know I'm always open. But that being said, when you're doing that many edits in the time frame we're doing, I don't have time to go through and do voice for all of them. So that's something that you should do, though, if you're trying to really flesh out an edit. I'm not going to play with that too much. And I'm also going to cover parameters in here real quick. So the way that I want you to think about parameters and the way that I think about them is 1 means you're absolutely terrible. 1 means like you're so bad at this that you probably hurt yourself trying to do it. 5 means that you've been trained and you're okay at it. 10 means you are Super Saiyan Stage 12 Goku, god of all things at this thing. Which means that pretty much nobody should ever have 10 in anything, because here's what I want you to think about when you put 10 into a stat. 10 means that that edit could never, ever get any better at that thing. Which is unrealistic, because I think everybody can always improve and get better at stuff. So the idea of somebody having a 10 in it is kind of absurd to me. Now, on the other hand, if you're trying to build a literal god, okay, fine. I wouldn't do that, though. So everything starts out at 4 here. We're going to take everything up to 5 to start with, because that just basically means, okay, they're trained in this. And realistically, every wrestler's, you know, trained in a little bit of this stuff. One thing they're usually not trained in, and I'll make a point of lowering that here real quick, is MMA overall and entertainment. Most wrestlers may be trained in like all this other stuff, but they're not necessarily going to have an MMA background.
Hey, Fitz You're going over.
Oh yeah, I'm over by 2 right now, but that's not a big deal because these are going to come down. So MMA overall is going to go down to about 2. That just basically is for the idea that he can kind of basically understand what MMA is, and he can kind of basically defend MMA, but he's not great at it. Entertainment value here is very, very specific. There's only a few moves in the game that use it. Lazy Dragon's moveset uses a lot of these. Let's put it that way. So I'm going to take that down for him too. That's probably not going to be his strong point. He's also not going to be the most technical guy in the ring, so we'll take that to a 4. He's trained in it, but he's still not great at it. Rough is going to be something he's probably a little bit better at. We'll take those up to 6. We're not going to raise them too much higher, and you can take these out of a junction, so you can make them a more aggressive attacker than a defender. But I like to keep them sort of in tow, because to me it makes sense that if somebody is really good at roughneck style moves, they're probably really good at countering roughneck style moves because they've trained in them. Okay, arm here we'll put at 6 is fine, I think. Lariat defense, 6 is also fine. Give him a little bit of agility. Your high flyers here, you're going to want more like an 8. He's a big guy that can fly. 6 is probably fine. I mean, that is realistically what we're going to see a lot of here with Phoenix. We're going to see that he's not a super technical guy, but otherwise he's kind of an all-arounder. He has a pretty decent mix. You know, he's going to have the ability to do some suplexes and throws and stuff. Going to have some solid kicks there. Maybe some decent punching too. And we've got 2 points left because everybody in GFW uses 155 point total. You don't have to cap your points like that. You can cap your points where you want to. The reason we use that for GFW is because then everybody has a same point total, and it has some sort of balance to it so that like when we do matches that are not predetermined and there's randomness to it, people don't feel like they don't have a chance to win and stuff like that. The other reason why we use that point cap is because of the special skills that are more expensive, but I'll actually go into that in a second. We have 2 points left to spend here. We can put them into whatever. I'm going to go ahead and put 1 into rough attack, and then 1 into probably, I want to say,
Impact?
Yeah, impact would probably be good. 1 into impact defense, and what that's going to do is just offset his offense and defense a little bit, which is fine. I kind of like that to be a little asymmetrical on edits. So we're going to come back in here and look at skill, and we're going to look at these special skills. So not every edit needs a special skill. That's the first thing to think about. Special skills are actually really powerful even for the point cost they have. But where you get into a lot of trouble is down here with these 35 point skills. They're really, really strong. They're 3 different special skills combined. 35 points may not be a lot if you're doing 250. If you're doing 250, you can have a really, really high parameter setting, and you can have one of those triple skills without a problem. If you're doing 155, it represents maybe a 1/5 of your point total to pick one of these, and that's another reason we kind of cap out there, is because it makes it so people don't end up picking a bunch of those and becoming super OP. So once again, we're going to go hard body there. Cool. So Phoenix is theoretically done. We have updated his move list. We have updated his logic a little bit to match some of the things that we noticed we weren't liking last time. There is one more thing I want to do though, and that is increase his chance to hit his finisher, because we didn't see him go to the top at all when we ran our test last time. we're about 35 minutes in right now, so we can go ahead and do a quick test match and see how his logic works out when we get there. I do want to point something out. I do a lot of 100% on priorities, but you don't have to. You can do 50, and we'll do a separate video about priorities because somebody asked for it, and this is really not super indicative of how priorities work. You don't necessarily always have 100% in them. The reason why I have 100% in a lot of these is because they're pins that I want to happen after certain attacks because they just make sense. So if I wanted to reduce the number of slots that I'm spending on pins here, what I would do is I would actually remove those moves from the moveset, pick something else. For example, I could remove the diving elbow attack or the sledgehammer, and then I wouldn't need to use a pin after that. But to me, the idea that somebody's going to come off the top rope and hit a sledgehammer and not pin after it is sort of unrealistic. I could lower the percentage so they don't do it every time, though, because that's maybe a little more realistic. But when I'm calling matches and somebody hits a big top rope move and they don't cover, it just feels like a missed opportunity to me, and I always have trouble selling it on commentary. Goth, feel free to chime in your opinion here, because you may not necessarily agree.
Well, it really depends, because it depends on, again, what the style of the wrestler is. To say if they're like a very aggressive heel, for most of the match until they've, say, dealt out all their punishment, they're just going to want to keep dealing out punishments, so necessarily they might not go for a pin all the time.
See, that's true.
But obviously that's a very particular style of worker, really. So in most cases, yes, I would agree with you about it not making sense and not going for the pin.
Yeah, and with GFW, like I said, because we have so many edits, some of this is done more broad stroke style, which is kind of sad. I would love to have the time to go in to dedicate to really get the edit's personality, but that's where you guys modify these numbers. If you're really trying to build your edit's personality, then play with these numbers. One of the cooler chains I can tell you guys about that I've done before, if you have the Juniors DLC, they added in the Rainmaker whip through thing, where like from the back you'll do the Rainmaker setup but not actually hit the lariat. And what I've done with a few edits before is I'll set like 33% to either do the Rainmaker whip that opens them up to a front grapple, and then put a follow-up in there as well, or do the Rainmaker V-trigger. So that, like, what you would do there to make that work is you would essentially put them in the order that you wanted them to override each other, and give them like 33%. And then for the Rainmaker whip, the one that releases them and sets them up for a front grapple, I would put that as the last one of 33%. And then right after it, I would put 100% follow-up for that with another move. So maybe you either do the Rainmaker, you do the Rainmaker V-trigger, or you do the Rainmaker whip and then super kick them in the face. Like, that would all be really cool, and it makes the match more suspenseful and interesting to do stuff like that, because it always makes people wonder. When they see that edit grab someone from behind, it's like, oh, which one is it gonna be? Because the setup is the same on all three. So that's a fun thing you can do with priorities, just off the top of my head. Okay, so everything else seems to be in order. Let's go ahead and overwrite here. Phoenix should be competitive with anybody on the GFW roster now, so we're gonna go ahead and go have a match. And I'm not sure who we're going to exactly go up against in that match. We could put him against Crusher. Crusher has... Actually, yeah, let's put him against Crusher, because Crusher has audio and Crusher has our custom move. This is probably going to hurt Phoenix a lot more than it hurts Crusher. Just gonna throw that out there.
Yeah.
Also, you guys get a special preview of the new GFW Pulse Arena, because that just happens to be the one I have loaded, and I'm super proud of it, and I want to show it off. So, hey, if you watch this, you get bonus content. How cool is that, huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, right.
So let's go ahead and... I have been invisible for a long time because I was display capturing and the webcam was under it. Oh well. Anyways, these things happen. Let's go ahead and start this match off, and that will give us the opportunity to kind of see how Phoenix performs here. I have not actually gotten him entrance music yet, which is kind of sad. So... Oh, wow. Hold on. We are peaking the mic with that entrance music. I'm going to turn that down quite a bit. Very sorry about that, guys. I will fix that in post, so it shouldn't hurt your ears or anything. Crusher's sporting his new theme. God, I love that pulse entrance ramp. It's so cool, too, because when they enter like this, it looks like the heart rates are pulsing. But it's just the lighting. And right here, you'll hear a sound effect from Crusher that's actually really nice. And then Phoenix with his no music, his no stage taunt. That's another thing. There is a mod that allows them to taunt on the stage that I haven't set up for him yet. But if you're using the mod pack, I highly recommend that as well. Although that is actually part of Ace's mods, which are a separate mod you have to find. But there's our taunt that we wanted with him pointing up, so that's great. All right. I'm going to shut up now, we're going to watch this match. And this will be very interesting to see if Phoenix even performs well here.
Yeah.
Nice hammer blow there from Phoenix. Elbow to fend off Crusher.
Another slot there from Crusher.
Ooh.
And takes him down.
Yeah, no, I mean, and this is where you're going to see that style difference kind of play in. Crusher has a power style, which is a lot stronger early on in the match, which coincides pretty interestingly with the high Ukemi that we gave Phoenix here. We should see Crusher kind of take the beginning of this match.
Oh, bear hug.
And it looks like they're starting off a little bit higher on the moveset list because I'm using a match pacing mod, and I think they're on medium damage right now already.
Yeah.
Crusher yelling over for that pin. Yeah.
Yeah.
Elbow to the face. We're still not seeing things be one-sided here, though, which is nice. There's that toe kick, and you see the toe kick set up for that elbow right there, which follows with that leg drop. That was a nice little sequence there that just naturally occurred.
And dong.
Hey, man, everybody's got a dong, and everybody's got to pay. That's not how that goes, is it?
It's not that. I think you may have just offended the women on the roster.
Okay, that's a good point, too.
Yeah.
Hey, man, hey, have you seen the way Evil Mist destroys people? Like, she got big dong power, okay? And escape there from Phoenix. And a quick Gato cover. I like that cover a lot for him. So we're seeing Crusher sort of get his moves in, but Phoenix isn't, like, dying here, which is what we want. We want Phoenix to take the offense and then sort of mount a comeback.
Oh, nice.
And I'm hoping that we'll see that soon.
The voices are coming through.
Are they? Yeah. And Crusher is just... Crusher's just very, very dominating here, because we do have higher Ukemi at medium. And there we see that toe kick sets up for a nice flying crossbody.
Only 2 count, though.
See, and that's my favorite part of Fire Pro Wrestling right there, is when the logic plays through like that, and you see a cool move like that toe kick into that running crossbody.
Oh, good lord! Jeez!
Dump to the outside. And this could get fun. We gonna see weapons? No, we're not gonna see weapons yet.
Not, the boo, sound effect pops in there when he taunted. Ow!
And didn't get pinned there.
Oh, kicked out.
I'm actually surprised he didn't get pinned there. I know for a fact that is a big slot move, so it means, and that's the thing, when you...
Oh! 1, 2...
When you understand the logic, like, nobody's getting a pin here. No. Since he didn't get that pin off of that Samoan spike right there, what it means is that Phoenix is not in critical damage yet. See, I told you guys, Phoenix is a big guy that flies a little bit.
Yeah, flies!
Oh,
hello.
We gonna dive or we gonna breathe?
No, he's breathing. He's breathing.
I mean, it's not terrible. I would have rather seen him dive there. I think I may go back and... Defukun from Reddit said that if he wants to see dives, he usually sets the do nothing to 0. I usually leave it at 10 so that people can breathe if they need it. But in Phoenix's case, I think maybe we will lower that to 0 because I'd rather see him just crazy dive.
1, 2... Nope.
And the main thing that I'm looking for here, because we've seen a match for Phoenix already, we've made some logic adjustments. The main thing I'm looking for here is I want to see him hit his finish.
Jeez! 1, 2... No!
And that's the Ukemi kicking in right there, because that probably should have done it. But the Ukemi is going to protect Phoenix here a little bit, as well as hard body.
Nice!
Nice little sequence there.
Oh.
See, we don't, like, when we do the logic, we know that when we see that crossbody, we don't have to worry about... Did you catch that taunt there?
Yes, I did.
The flying lariat into that, I'm gonna fix my tights taunt. So that's why we put those things at the settings we do, because it kind of makes sense and it adds a little bit to the match story. But anyways, when we see that flying crossbody, because we've done our logic well, we know that we don't have to worry. This could actually pin. 1, 2, no, kick out.
No!
So that's the thing, is we know the crossbody's never actually going to pin. Oh, yeah!
Here we go!
I'm gonna get in trouble for that. My girlfriend is sleeping, and I probably just woke her up, and if I die in a few moments, I loved every minute of time that I had with all of you, and I'm so sorry. Oh, and now we're seeing it spammed, so maybe it's a little too high. 1, 2, doesn't get the pin there.
No.
So I switched that to 40% chance to happen in large and critical damage, and that seems a little bit too high. I think we're going to lower that maybe. It was at 20. 40 is too high, so I'm going to go for 30 next.
Yeah.
And once again, I don't have to worry about those worry down submissions causing a fluke win here. Oh, nice. Does he cover? He does not. Okay, so that I think I wanted to cover after that, because especially right here, that would have been a good place to cover, I think.
Nah.
Or a taunt. Actually, a taunt would be great there, too. Ooh, and a spear just ripping Phoenix off his feet. Whipped off the ropes. And a big lift-up slam. And just taking a moment to embrace the boos of the audience is Crusher here. What's he gonna do? You know what I actually found out? The military press counter off the Irish Whip can throw people out of the ring.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it looks dope. Oh, and this is it. Banebreaker. Oh. And Crusher's not pinning after that. That is a logic problem. Crusher's logic is going to be needing to be modified. Just gonna stretch Phoenix here, but I think his foot's nope, not quite under the rope here, or Game Goon's not seeing it at the very least. He's gonna whip him. What's he got? Oh, big elbow. Hey, what's this? Oh, I thought he was gonna go up top after that. There's actually, I thought, a priority chain, but apparently Crusher was not close enough to the corner there. Big flying clothesline. Fixing the tights. He's fixed his tights after both flying clotheslines this match. That's pretty,
So that's good, that works.
That's pretty serendipity, because I don't think we actually set that taunt, did we?
I can't remember.
Oh, just chucking Crusher out the ring, and the camera's going wonky.
Carl.
There we go, fix the camera. Okay, so that is something you can't fix with logic. Phoenix was trying to go for an outside dive there, but he ran into the turnbuckle. Because logic and CPU stuff. It's really cool. And the best part is trying to sell that on commentary. You basically have to be like, oh, and Phoenix tripping there.
Yeah. I like how Crusher brought a weapon into the ring.
I am fine with that. I just want to see Phoenix use the weapon.
Yeah.
Nope. Gonna send him to the corner. What's he got in mind here? Not gonna run in. Gonna no.
Top rope.
I thought he was gonna lift Crusher, but Crusher getting the best of that exchange.
Lifting Crusher, yeah, that's something you don't hear often. Oh god.
I mean, to be fair, Crusher's only 330 pounds. I mean, I could lift that. I'm just kidding. I'm totally kidding. Oh, and that big lariat drops Phoenix face first on the chair, and now Phoenix has been busted open, so we should start to see a little bit better recovery from him here now.
Yeah. If Crusher doesn't just kill him outright.
I mean, you gotta remember, Ukemi is a thing. Oh, roll up on the chair here. One, two. No. Kicks out just in time. So it is important to note that roll up came from the all-around reversal style or return skill. So I may change that up because I really don't want that roll up in there.
Is Crusher's running set to slow?
It may be. I mean, he's a big dude. I
know. It's weird how it looks like they're running at full. Then it must have been sort of like something to do with the AI on the last run he did, because it looked like he was running at full speed, but he was running like he was moving a small distance.
Yeah, I think what happened there was his his breath was super low, so he was running slower essentially. And a nice camel clutch here, just gonna stretch Phoenix out. I liked that tree of woe though. That was nice. Phoenix working over the ribs with that series of kicks to the body. And Crusher stopping to catch his breath. So that's a great thing that we're seeing here. Crusher is a monster. He should absolutely tear people apart. But after every move now, he's finding himself out of breath because that's realistic. big dudes run out of juice. And that also factors into the way we built Phoenix, because a lot of other edits would have gone down by now, which means Crusher wouldn't have hit that exhaustion point.
Oh my god!
I wish that would deposit people on the outside. I might modify that move so it'll deposit people on the outside, because that would have been sick right there. Phoenix still in this, though. Being bounced off of that rope. Oh, ducks under. And Crusher just gonna squeeze the life out of him. I honestly thought he would get him right there.
Ow.
That toe kick gonna stun him, and now tossing him out of the ring. Are we gonna get a dive here? No, he's just gonna follow him out. I'm fine with that. That's better than just standing in the ring and breathing. And now just working that sleeper hold on the outside. A super logical thing. We totally wouldn't be better off if we had logic for outside the ring, guys. Someday. Nice mounted punches there. I mean, that's the thing. Fire Pro is not perfect, but I love it. It's pretty close. No. Bear hug on the outside. Why are these guys doing nothing but submissions on the outside? They're like, all right, guys, let's go outside where submissions can't win. Oh, that's not a submission. And another Banebreaker depositing Phoenix on top of that chair. I have to believe.
They're gonna get counted out.
I don't think countouts are turned on.
All right.
So they're just working, which is fine. Let them work. Let them work. They got this. Oh, Phoenix is winded now. Like, he's looking like he's in bad shape. I think if they get back in and Crusher hits a big move, it's probably over.
Yeah.
But the fact that he's hung in there this long, taking the beating he's taken, is sort of what I was going for anyway. Like, Phoenix is not meant to be that aggressive
if they ever get back in the ring.
He's just meant to take a beating. There we go. Crusher back in. And now he's going to take to the center and just catch his breath. Phoenix going to take some time on the outside to catch his breath before getting back in. Take that. I mean, hey, man, all that aggression that he's taken, he just put it all into that one punch right there. Oh, Crusher in the corner. What's he going to do? Big boot. Love that boot for him. Looks great. Oh, and a strike exchange here. We'll probably see Phoenix come out on the top of this just because of his spirit. Beckoning Crusher to come on. And what do we got? Throwing him into the corner. Another big boot. Oh, yeah. Corner to corner big boot.
Here's the kick.
Please don't go for a dive in the corner again, Phoenix. Please don't. Dude, now I'm second guessing this arena because I'm like, that stage right there, that's a problem. Crusher just mounting with these punches, probably not going to get anything out of that. He will potentially aggravate the bleeding on Phoenix's face, though. I've seen Crusher tear a lot of people open with those punches. Nice pullback lariat. And a spear for good measure. Oh, off the ropes. And a headbutt. Crusher's just working Phoenix here. Now, the question here, too, is he working Phoenix, or are we... Well, I mean, he hasn't grappled yet, and I'm reasonably sure that Ukemi can only be triggered on grapples. Oh.
He's screwed.
Strong body gonna help or no? One, two. It's over. That's it. Okay. So Phoenix didn't win that match. We did see a Flight of the Phoenix. We did see him stick in there for a long time like we were hoping. I'm sort of happy with that performance. I would have liked to see the finisher not be spammed as much, I think, and maybe some of those dives a little more frequently, but that was a 5-star match, so I'm kind of okay with it. And that star system is something that's added by the mod pack guys. Normally you'll get a percentage evaluation, but you can be sure that if it's a 5-star rating, it's probably a 100% match. Because
actually, why didn't that come up? Is that a glitch?
No, I actually turned it off.
Oh, you've actually turned it off, okay.
Yeah, that's an option in the mod pack, and like the percentage evaluation isn't very good, and the reason why is because any match that goes about 25 minutes is going to be 100% automatically.
Yeah, I was about to say, like, and you started them off on medium damage, didn't you?
Yeah, no, so that...
So imagine if they weren't on medium damage, how long this would have went.
Yeah, so I mean, technically that's game time, though, that's not real time. Real time, that's like 12 and a half, so... Still, though, that's a pretty good length match for starting at medium damage, and the beating that Phoenix took in the beginning, that is exactly what we wanted from him. We wanted him to stick in there and just sort of be that tough guy that gets beat on and keeps fighting. So that's great. He didn't get a turnaround win there. I'm okay with that. He had a great performance, in my opinion, and I think that he came out pretty good.
I mean, realistically, who's going to go over on Crusher, at least at this point?
I mean, I think the big man could be taken down.
Does Crusher have creative? Like, let's be honest here.
No. I mean, Crusher.
Well, you don't know anymore. You're not the owner. It's Nero. You could have given creative.
Crusher has some actually, you know what? Let's before we end this, I'm gonna go in and make some fixes to Crusher because we talked about the fact that he did not pin after the Banebreaker, and that's not okay. Because that move is like not pinning after that big Banebreaker to me seems like a mistake. Is it not listed here? Giant swing,
doesn't look like
Backbreaker, grenade, ankle choke slam, Rainmaker. You're right, it's not listed. That's crazy. Okay. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna come down here and find his Banebreaker move, which is right there, and we're gonna go ahead and pin right after that. And I think pin it head for him right there will be the one where he plants his foot on their chest, which makes it even better.
Yeah.
And we're gonna set that to 100%, because if you don't pin after your own finish, what are you doing with your life? Okay, so now he's set to do the right thing with that, because that was kind of horrendous to see that hit and not pinned after. For me, at least. Like, I was like, on commentary, when that happens, like, I can feel it catch in the back of my throat, and I'm like, oh god, how do I explain this quickly? So that, guys, will end our edit creation series here on Fire Pro Academy. GFW Season 2 will be starting later on this week. I've got the first half of that show already recorded. I'll be finishing it very, very soon. I hope you guys will all join us for that, because I think it's going to be phenomenal, and there's some great things we're going to be doing with the launch of Season 2. But I'm going to leave that sort of as a surprise for when we actually launch, and then we can talk about it then. Thank you guys for watching. If you enjoyed the series, as always, leave a like. If you want to see more great content here on the channel, or just enjoy the awesome GFW shows that we put out pretty regularly once we're in season, go ahead and click that subscribe button. Yeah, you guys want to see anything else, let me know in the comments, because we're always down to do these fun tutorials, and we are probably going to do a video focused just on cool priority change you can do, because there's all sorts of fun stuff you can do with that. I was just telling Goth about one that I saw somebody did on Carl's Discord, that's the mod Discord, where they took the finger snap from Marty Skrull and they chained it to the taunt where they sit down, and then they added a sound effect where they cackle when they do it. So basically, he snaps the guy's finger, sits down right in front of him, stares at him, and cackles wildly. It's great. It's just hilarious to see.
That seems like a Minoru Suzuki thing to do.
It came off like that when I watched it, honestly. Anyways, thank you guys for watching. I am so glad that you've rode with us through this. I know it's been a long process, and these videos have been pretty long. And I know it's been a long off-season, but I am absolutely 100% committed to the Fire Pro stuff we do on this channel. It is one of the funnest things I do in my entire life. So thank you for being a part of that. Thank you, Goth, as always, for being our color commentator and yelling at Carl.
No problem. Yeah, that'll never change.
I know that's a full-time job.
Yeah, I know. It's like I don't even get extra paid to do it. Like, I just
wait. You're getting paid?
Well. Wait, hold on, you're not getting paid anymore? Oh wait, you're not the owner. Oh yeah, I just remembered.
Alright, all joking aside, thank you guys for watching, and we will see you next time. Bye!
Bye.